Yeah. No, if we do, but we shouldn't. Okay, we are going to get started right at 6:30. Live streaming, so part of our time is going to, or just so that you'll be aware of that. So we'll see how many people are watching. If you're watching and you're not here, welcome. Glad that you're a part of it. So let's pray. Father God, we thank you for this time. We thank you for the ability that we can come into this place. We give this time to you. We ask that you would help us to hear the things that we need to hear. And not just hear it, but may we understand it at a level that will allow us to do something with what it is we're beginning to understand about our relationships with each other and the marriages that we have. We are thankful for what you're going to do and for what you're doing in our lives. And we give you these next moments, and may you use it for your glory. In your name we pray. Amen. The marriage ceremony is a time to proclaim your love for each other and make a commitment to live out that love for a lifetime. Today, you have decided to live your lives together as husband and wife. Nothing is easier than saying words, and nothing harder than living them out day after day. What you promise today must be renewed and redecided tomorrow. At the end of this ceremony, legally, you'll be man and wife. But you still must decide each day that stretches out before you that you want to be married. Real love is not total absorption in each other. It's looking outward in the same direction together. Love makes burdens lighter because you divide them, and it makes joys more intense because you share them. It makes you stronger so you can reach out and become involved with life in ways you dare not risk alone. Marriage is a long friendship, and is not, nor can it ever be, a long date. We do not fall in love and then get married. We get married and then learn what love requires. And love is patient and kind. It is not jealous, boastful, proud, or rude. It does not demand its own way and keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. I, Joseph, take you, Mary, to be my wife. For better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do us part. I, Mary, take you, Joseph, to be my husband. For better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do us part. Joseph, do you promise to share in life's good times and difficult times in your journey together, always supporting and encouraging Mary, promising to remain faithful to the love you share? And Mary, do you promise to share in life's good times and difficult times in your journey together, always supporting and encouraging Joseph, promising to remain faithful to the love you share? And by the power vested in me, it is my privilege to pronounce you husband and wife. Joseph, you may kiss your bride. Now that is the marriage ceremony that I use when I marry someone. And you were married and you had some sort of vows that you took when you went through that ceremony. I think my favorite line in the entire ceremony is this: marriage is a long friendship. It is not, nor can it ever be, a long date. We do not fall in love and then get married. We get married and then learn what love requires. And that really is what a marriage is about. Tim Keller says this. He says, a proper wedding vows are more of a promise of mutual binding future, where love is a declaration, where love is not a declaration of the one you have right now, but the one that you're going to have. That you're entering into this thing that we call marriage. I'm going to talk about some things tonight. We'll have a little bit of interaction, hopefully. I'm not going to read to you the whole time, but I do want to read something else to you to just kind of get us going in our evening tonight. In generations past, there was far less talk about compatibility and finding the ideal soulmate. Today, we're looking for someone who accepts us as we are and fulfills our desires, and this creates an unrealistic set of expectations that frustrates both the searchers and the searched for. In John Terry's classic humor article, Picky, 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 he tries nobly to get us to laugh at the impossible situation our culture has put on us, or has put us in. He recounts many of the reasons his single friends told him that they had given up their recent relationships. She mispronounced Goliath. How could I take him seriously after seeing The Road Less Traveled on his bookshelf? If she would just lose 7 pounds. Sure, he's a partner, but it's not a big firm, and he wears those short black socks. Well, it started out great. Beautiful face, great body, nice smile. Everything was going fine until she turned around. She had dirty elbows. In other words, some people in our culture want too much of a marriage partner. They do not see marriage as two flawed people coming together to create a space of stability, love, and consolation, a haven in a heartless world. As Christopher Lash describes it, rather they are looking for someone who will accept them as they are, complement their abilities, and fulfill their sexual and emotional desires. They will indeed require a woman who is a novelist/astronaut with a background in fashion modeling, and the equivalent in a man. A marriage based not on self-denial but self-fulfillment will require a low or no maintenance partner who meets your needs while making almost no claims on you. Simply put, today people are asking far too much in their marriage partner. You never marry the right person. Isn't that depressing? You never marry the right person. The Bible explains why the quest for compatibility seems to be so impossible. As a pastor, I've spoken to thousands of couples, some working on marriage seeking, some working on marriage sustaining, and some working on marriage saving. I'm not sure which group you find yourself in tonight. I've heard them say over and over, love shouldn't be this hard. It should come naturally. In response, I always say something like, well, why believe that? Would someone who wants to play professional baseball say it shouldn't be so hard to hit a curveball? Would someone who wants to write the greatest American novel of her generation say it shouldn't be hard to create believable characters and a compelling narrative? The understandable retort is, but this is not baseball or literature. This is love. Love should just come naturally if two people are compatible, if they are truly soulmates. Duke University ethics professor Stanley Harwa says this: destructive to marriage is the self-fulfillment ethic that assures marriage and the family that are primary institutions of personal fulfillment necessary for us to become whole and happy. The assumption that there is someone just right for us to marry and that if we look closely enough, we will find that right person. This moral assumption overlooks a crucial aspect to marriage. It fails to appreciate the fact that we always marry the wrong person. We never know whom we marry. We just think we do. Or even if we first marry the right person, just give it a while and he or she will change. For marriage, being the enormous thing that it is, means we are not the same person after we enter it. The primary challenge of marriage is learning how to love and care for the stranger to whom you find yourself married. Harvest gives us this first reason that two people are compatible Harvest gives us the first reasons that no two people are compatible for marriage, namely that marriage profoundly changes us. But there is another reason. Any two people who enter into marriage are spiritually broken by sin, which among other things means to be self-centered, life-living. As author Dennis Rugmont says, why should neurotic, selfish, immature people suddenly become angels when they fall in love? Let me read that again. Why should neurotic, selfish, immature people suddenly become angels when they fall in love? That is why a good marriage is more painfully hard to achieve than athletic or artistic prowess. Raw, natural talent does not enable you to play baseball as a pro or write great literature without enduring discipline and enormous work. Why would it be easy to live lovingly and well with another human being in the light of what is profoundly wrong within our human nature? Indeed, many people who have mastered athletics and art have failed miserably at marriage. So the biblical doctrine of sin explains why marriage, more than anything else that is good and important in this fallen world, is so painful and hard. No false choices. The reasons that marriage is so painful and yet wonderful is because it is a reflection of the gospel, which is painful and wonderful at once. The gospel is we are more sinful and flawed in ourselves than we ever dare to believe. And at the very same time, we are more loved and accepted in Jesus Christ than we ever dared hope. Marriage is hard. It is incredibly hard. Some of the basics of marriage are simple. It's like some of the basic tenets of anything can be simple, but can be incredibly difficult to do. Marriage is a very, very difficult thing. And the odds are stacked against us. There is more going against us to have a healthy marriage than is going for us. And we're going to talk about some of those things tonight that are kind of coming at us of what that means. So let me tell you what I hope to accomplish tonight. I feel woefully inadequate to speak to marriage. Woefully inadequate. You want me to teach you the book of Galatians? I'm good. You want me to teach a lot of things, I'm good. But when it comes to marriage, I feel incredibly inadequate in doing so. Marriage is something that we believe in, obviously. It's something that you believe in. You've chosen to be here tonight. Or you're choosing to set aside the time to watch this wherever you may be. Because it's important to you. And your relationship is important to you. And it is difficult. And what I'm going to try to do tonight is well, let me tell you what I'm not going to do tonight. I'm not going to tell you how to fix your marriage. Okay? I don't know how to fix your marriage. But I can give you some tools that I think will help you in your marriage. And I hope to cause some curiosity about some things tonight. That's an hour and a half. You can't accomplish anything in an hour and a half that's going to be of any lifelong merit. But there are some things that we can do to kind of get the ball rolling when it comes to this idea of being married. Who in the room has been married for less than 5 years? Anybody been married less than 5 years? Okay, we got a couple, 3, 4. Who's been married for over 25 years? Anybody in the room like that? Yeah, okay. And so everybody else is somewhere in between, right? How long you guys been married? 46 and a half years, but you're not counting, right? 46 and a half years. I think y'all probably win on the longest here tonight. Lisa and I'll be married 30 years. And this is Lisa, by the way, in case you don't know. You want to say, why don't you come up? Just come up. This is Miss Lisa. Wave to the camera.
Where is it?
Was in the back.
Oh.
See Matt and Cricket in the back? All right. We'll be married 30 years this August. I say, you usually do that for me.
I know.
Just like, go sit down. Go sit down. Like I was saying, I think there's a lot coming at us that keeps us from having the healthy marriage that we want to have. If you're married, you have a marriage, right? It's what kind of marriage do you have? Do you have a healthy one? Do you have a vibrant one? Do you have a growing one? You didn't have to come to this tonight to know that marriages go through seasons. You go through ups and downs. You go through good parts and bad parts. The thing that I just read, one of the things in there that just jumps out at me when I read that was Lisa is not the person that I married almost 30 years ago today. She's not that person. And I'm not that person that she married. So many things have happened over those years when it goes to that. A couple of things that keep us from having a vibrant, loving marriage. The first one, I think, is this, is that opposites attract. Opposites attract. And we don't know why, or maybe we do know why. When you see someone that you're attracted to from a romantic standpoint, and then they have traits and personality that's different from yours, that generally is attractive. When you see someone, I remember when, why don't you come up. Okay, I want you to take the microphone and you just tell them about the first time you met me.
Okay, so we were at a college function, and I see a friend of mine that I knew from the previous year, and so I ran up to Trey, and I'm like, Trey, hey, and hug, and Marty is standing right next to him, and pretty much standing like he is right now, hands behind his back. So Trey and I are both just outgoing and talking, and I look over at Marty, and I'm just like, hi, I'm Lisa. He's, Marty. He did one little roll of the feet, one little roll, said his name, and then I just kind of looked at my friend, kind of, crossed my eyes like, how'd you get stuck with this guy? So I just knew it was time to go. And I thought, I'm not hanging around. I mean, this guy, he's like a dweeb. He's just like, Marty. It's like, is that all you do? So.
That was the beginning. No, not the best first impression. So in that particular instance, the opposites did not attract immediately, but over time, opposites do begin to attract. And then it's kind of like, okay, I see that person, and that person is the life of the party and bubbly and this, and it's kind of like, I would like to be like that. I like to be around that person. And then from her end, well, here's this guy who's calm, and he seems to not get rattled when everybody else is rattled, and it's steady, and it's like, wow, I'd like that. That's like so appealing when you see that. So the opposites attract, and it causes a problem because in the early days, that opposite attraction is wonderful, but after about 10 years, she is saying, and we'll get to more of this when we talk about the temperaments, she's saying to me, Marty, can you just show some emotion? I just need something from you to let me know that you have a pulse. I mean, I just like, she says sometimes, she says, I can come home from work. She said, I don't know if he's won $1 million or he's lost his job. That's just the way, and it's kind of like, she's like, I just need you. I need you to do something. And then there's times when I'm like, geez, can she just shut up? It's like, can she just be quiet? I mean, why do we have to talk about everything constantly? And so there's this, what causes the attraction can begin to get to be the thing that just starts, you're up on my last living nerve here, because it's just so, because of opposite attracts, and a lot of times we do connect with someone who's the opposite from us, that begins a problem. Not every situation's like that. Sometimes you have married someone who's very similar. You have very similar temperament. You have similar personality. You're both introverts or you're both extroverts, and then that can cause other problems. My good friend Danny Rogers, who lives in North Carolina, he's very much like Lisa. He's very outgoing and bubbly and fun, and you want Danny at the party if you're having a party. And his wife is very much like me. And so we used to say all the time when we would go out. So like if Lisa and Danny got married, man, would they have fun? They would have no money, but they would have fun. And if Marty and Carrie got married, they would have no fun. Nobody would ever invite you to a party, but man, they would have a lot of money. And so that's just the way that works. And so the opposite attraction thing can really cause problems. I think another really big thing that helps that causes us not to have healthy marriages is a lack of one being modeled. There's a lot of us grew up in broken homes. And if you didn't grow up in, you may have come from a broken home from a standpoint that was a divorce, but there's a lot of people who've been married for 50 years that should have gotten divorced about 30 years ago because they're in a miserable relationship and they're making everybody around them miserable. And when you don't have that kind of modeled for us, we don't really know what to do, and we don't even know what it looks like. And we're going to talk about this one in detail in a minute. Expectations. Expectations will destroy your marriage. You get in your head what you expect marriage to be, and you get in your head what you expect your spouse to be, and it will destroy it. And we're going to talk about that just a little bit more. Another big one is your story. You have a story. I talked about it Sunday. If you were here for Easter service, we talked about how we all have stories. And your story's not my story's not yours. And we went around and shared everybody's story. You know, some of us met in bars, and some of us met at church. Some of us met at school. Some of us met on a blind date. Some of us met by a dating service. There's all kinds of stories that are in the room. Dave and Lisa have been dating since they were like in 3rd grade or something like that. They've known each other their whole life. And some of you are older in life and you just met the person that you're married to 3 or 4 years ago. And in your story, you have some pain and you have some woundedness. Some places where you have been deeply wounded. And you brought that into your marriage. And it's impacting your marriage. It's impacting every relationship that you have. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Another one that we just cannot get away from as Christians in this kind of context is that we have an enemy. And the last thing that he wants is for your marriage to be healthy. The last thing he wants is for your marriage to be fulfilling. He is going to do whatever he can to attack. And this other one, this last one, I think that stacks us against from having healthy marriages is that it takes hard work. To have a healthy marriage, it takes hard work. Most people I know are allergic to hard work. We don't want to do something that's hard. And you can have a great marriage, year 16, and be on, one step from a divorce in marriage in year 18. If you don't do the hard work in those 2 years. So we'll talk a little bit about some of that hard work in the next little bit as we look at some of the tools that we have. They're really biggie for me when it comes to following God, being physically fit, being financially healthy, having a healthy marriage is to do what you know you're supposed to do. Rarely is it, I don't know what to do. Rarely. We can learn some things. I'm all for learning. The key is, what am I going to do with what I know? Regardless of what shape your marriage is in. If you had a friend come to you and says, you know what, I think me and my wife are going to get a divorce. I just need some advice. Chances are you could give him some advice. Or you could give her some advice. Say, you might want to try this and this and this. And you may not have ever taught a marriage seminar. You might not have ever taught anything. You may not have even read a marriage book or been to anything like that. But just common sense is like, well, have you tried this, this, and this? So a lot of times it's not about what you know. It's about what am I doing with what I know. And so I'm going to put some stuff out there. And then we are going to talk about how do we go about that? How do we go about doing what we're doing. I'd like for you to look to your partner, okay? And this is the first thing that I want you. I want you to just take turns. Guys, you can go first, and then ladies. And I want you to say this to each other. You are not my enemy. All right, ladies? All right. All right, guys, you go first this time. You are not my savior. Okay. Now, you are not my enemy, and you are not my savior. Somebody tell me how that made you feel. Silly? Okay, makes me feel silly. Anybody else? How did it make you feel? Solid? Yeah. Your enemy is not your spouse. If you are having difficulties in your marriage, it is not your spouse's fault. It is your fault. And the person you need to work on the most is me. It is not about my spouse. And over the years of 30 years of being a pastor, I've done a lot of marriage counseling, and that's one of the first things that I say. This is not about her. This is not about him. This is about you. And what are you willing to do to change? What are you willing to do to transform into what it means to love this person? Because the movies and the songs on the radio say that we meet, fall in love, and get married. Okay? Scripture says the difference. It says that's not the way it is. You meet, you make a commitment, then you learn what that means. You learn what it means to love that person. So expectations. Without giving details, I'm not asking you to give expectations about your spouse. So let's just think, if we could all think about before we ever were married, okay, to the person that you are currently married to. What are some of the expectations that you had about married life? Now, throw them out to me. Some of the expectations that you had about married life. Cheryl. That we would go to bed at the same time like the Bradys. First television couple to share a bed together, by the way. All right. What's another one? You would shower together every night. Oh, that's a good one, Frank. Frank's from southern Louisiana. It's hot and sticky. So it's like, I think we know what you mean there, Frank. Somebody over here. Yes. Equal division of labor. Hey, amen. All right. So we're going to go to bed together at the same time. We're going to take a shower together, and we're going to have equal division of labor. What's something else that an expectation you took into marriage? I always thought that the husband would work and the wife wouldn't. Okay? You would always be together about everything. Everything, yeah. We'd always agree. Expectation that the wife takes care of the house. Okay? Anything else anybody want? Yeah. Oh, that we would discipline the kids the same. Yeah. That we might even agree on how many kids we should have. Or we should have kids. Yeah. So, all kinds of expectations, right? And just the first three. How many of y'all, I won't ask that. It's, yeah. They're just the first three. I mean, we laugh at those because we know how silly they are now. It's like, we're not always going to agree on everything. We're not always going to do this. We don't, there are just so many things that happen with expectations. Expectations in a relationship You just have to shoot it in the head. You cannot have them. And when you have expectations, it is going to ruin your relationship. And the reason that is going to be is because your spouse will not be able to meet your expectations. It is just not possible. One reason it's not possible is because your expectations change and you forgot to tell them. They're just supposed to know. And that's part of what happens with the expectation. I'm expecting a husband to do this. I'm expecting a wife to do this. I'm expecting a marriage to look like this. This is what I'm expecting, whether we're getting that from the Brady Bunch, or we're getting that from television, or from our parents, or from our grandparents, or just something that you've created in your head. We have to learn how to lessen our expectations. And Andy Stanley talks about it like this. He talks about, you imagine just a box and have on the box have written expectations. And you need to practice emptying that box. Just you got to do the diligent work of, I'm going to come home from work and I'm not going to have any expectations. Because if you come home from work and your expectation is the house is going to be immaculate and dinner's going to be on the table and we're going to take a shower later. Okay? This is the expectations, right? Okay. And most nights that's not even close to anything that's going to happen. So when you have that expectation, you walk in the door with that expectation, then there's no way to recover from that. And expectations, you just got to let go of them. And how do I do that? Well, one of the things you need to start doing is talking about it. Is have some kind, here's some expectations that I have. I have this expectation from you. Now, is this a legitimate expectation? Is this far-fetched for me to have this expectation? Because we have to know the difference between an expectation and a request. Right? An expectation and a request are two different things. I would like for us to go to bed together at the same time most nights. Well, that becomes a request. It's no longer an expectation. I would like for us to, or I need this from you. I need you to do this. I need this from you because it's so important. I've done a study actually went into places where people were standing in line and had somebody go and cut in line. Okay? And you can imagine what happened normally when somebody just cut the line. While they go right up to the front, cut the whole line. I mean, fights, people calling the police, all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's just a huge percentage of people not allowing that to happen is like 98%. Okay? Here's the twist they did on this study. Same situation, same scenario, same kind of line. The person comes up to cut and says, I need to cut because I'm running late for work. I need to cut because I need to pick my child up from school. And it didn't matter what the reason was. When they gave a reason for their need to cut the line, 95% of the people said, okay. So when you make a request, first of all, you got to make the request. And then you got to have a conversation. All right, well, this request is not feasible. You're asking me to do something that I can't do. I will try to do that, and maybe I can do that sometime, but I can't. You don't know what you're asking. I've in a work situation, I've learned as a pastor when I go in, because I'm not the technical guy, I don't know all this stuff, and sometimes I'll go into Josh or a Matt or a John, and I'll say, hey, I would like to do this, and I don't even know what I'm asking. Like, I don't even know what I'm asking. So I've learned to say, hey, I don't know what I'm asking here, but I'd like to live stream this thing on Wednesday night that we're doing for the marriage thing. Is that going to, like, cause somebody to have to work 100 hours this week? Or, what does that mean? But I've learned how to do that. And we have to learn how to do that to communicate with each other. And our expectations, we've got to learn how to listen, how to lessen them. The more expectations I have, the more disappointed I'm going to be. And this is a general principle in life. The more expectations I have, the more disappointed I'm going to be. If you come to church Sunday and you have this long list of expectations, and you're expecting this and 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 this, and you're probably going to leave church a wee bit disappointed. Now, I'm not saying you're supposed to have so low of expectations that you don't ever accomplish anything, but man, we have some pretty wicked conversations in our head, don't we? We have a lot of stuff going on in our head that we don't ever talk about, and we don't ever share with each other. And expectations is something I've got to figure out how to do that. And so instead of having expectations, let's talk about what I need. Let's talk about what we need. What do you need from me? Here's what I need from you. What do you need from me? What can I do? Well, I can do this, or I can't do that. And here's why I can't do that. And here's why I'm asking, because this is why I'm asking you to do that, because this will do that. And then you can make plans. And when you start making plans, that is part of the deal. And I know what a lot of times happens in marriages is we think, well, they should just know. I don't know where we get that from. Well, how should you just know? How should I just know? I can't just know. You need to tell me what you want. You would never go and sit down in a restaurant and the waiter comes up and says, you wouldn't say, you should know. Bring me what I want. No, you tell him what you want and how you want it, and they bring it to. And when we get caught up in our marriages, and we think just because we've been married for 5 years or 10 years, or just because that person says that they love you or they've committed their life to you, that they should know. So expectations are so important, and the important thing is lessen them. Lessen them. You'll be happier. You'll be happier when you don't have all those expectations. And then have the conversation about the things that are important. And as you know, the difference between an expectation and a request. So you have expectations that you're bringing into your marriage, and you're bringing them into your marriage for all kinds of different reasons, all kind of different ways. The second thing that I want to talk about briefly is wounds. I have come to believe that we are body, soul, and spirit, and that we're made up of 3 parts. I have a body, and I have a soul, and I have a spirit. I can't separate those 3 things. Marty is body, soul, and spirit, and you are body, soul, and spirit. And you just can't say, hey, I'm going to put my body over here for a while, and just put my soul over here, and put my spirit over here. No, every time I walk into the room, my body, soul, and spirit are present. Okay? My soul has experienced so many things. Wounds. Things that I didn't get when I was growing up that I needed to get. Things that I got when I was growing up that I didn't deserve. Situations that have happened to me. Rejections. If you had a serious heartbreak in a relationship, or somebody broke your heart, like they crushed you in their rejection of you, guarantee it 100%. You brought that into the current marriage you're in. You have to. If you haven't dealt with it, you bring it in. And so you have a story, and you have things that have happened to you that are holes and wounds and rejections, and they are impacting how you see life. And they certainly are impacting how you see your marriage. Maybe about half of you, maybe a little bit less than half of you have been through Pure Heart Weekend. And when we talk about Pure Heart Weekend as a church, this is what we're talking about. I can't do this in 10 minutes. It takes 2 days of Pure Heart Weekend to set it up. And I would just say, if you haven't been a part of Pure Heart Weekend, you need to go. Because you need to figure out the stuff that you're carrying around. Because you got stuff that's there, and you may not even know it. And when you begin to know it, you begin to see it. I'm going to give you an example. For me, one of the biggest wounds for me is a feeling of being dismissed. I have dealt with that most of my life, or I have felt that people dismiss me, and where there is a lack of respect. And with that comes a nothing's ever going to go right mentality that I struggle with. This seems to happen to me all the time. The mechanic says, "Well, I've never seen that before." Well, of course. It's my car. The builder in our new house, "Well, I've never seen it do that before." Well, of course. It's my house. That's just that part of thing is there. And last night watching the hockey game, and I don't want to bring it up, but last night watching the hockey game, and I'm like, they're just going to lose this game. You can't, 4 goals in 4 minutes. What is going on? And I said, and Lisa got on to me because Amelia's sitting there and we're watching as a family. And this is what I said. I said, this is why I don't pull. I didn't want another team. I didn't want to get emotionally involved with another team. I ain't got time for this. I didn't want to do this. This is what always happened. None of my teams ever win. Okay? This is my identity when it comes to this. And Lisa's like, be careful, what you're saying. It's real, okay? So if it comes up while we're watching a hockey game, okay, 2 years ago, I couldn't spell hockey, right? I watched one hockey game in my life. It was the Miracle on Ice. If it can happen in that, just think of the stuff that you're bringing into your marriage. Of stuff that you've been carrying for a very long time. And you got to be able to recognize it. And you got to say, okay, this is what it's doing to me. This is what it's doing to me. So your wounds. So we bring in expectations, and we got these things that have happened to us, and we need to know how to deal with it. And that's what Pure Heart Weekend is about. And I hope you'll go. These next 2 things are going to be a little bit lighter. I want to talk about, now remember what we're doing here, is we're talking about 4 things that are coming at you in your marriage. What expectations you're bringing in, okay? What your history of how you were raised, the things that have happened in your life, past relationships, past whatever, okay? And that past stuff, you can have, you all know how we swing the pendulum, right? You've seen people who've grown up with nothing, and then all of a sudden they swing way over here and give their kids everything they want. Okay? Now, being deprived is no good. Giving your child everything they want is no good. Okay? My father, and I'm not, as an example, it's not my case. My father never came to a sporting event that I ever had. I'm going to go to every one of my kids' practices and sporting events, and at the detriment of my job, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, neither one of those things are good. And so we bring that stuff in. So we have these expectations and we have these wounds. You have a temperament. And it most likely is not the temperament of your spouse. Now, you also have a personality. Now, your personality comes out of your temperament. I'm going to talk about this a little bit tonight. By the way, we try to put some kind of design to this in the life of our church. From Easter Sunday to this Sunday, starting a series, a 7-week series on how to love each other. And it's not going to be geared just towards marriages, obviously, but it's going to have a big impact on how you, for instance, 2 weeks we're talking about how to listen. Well, if you can work on your listening skills, it will make your marriage better. Okay? One of these Sundays, we're going to talk about our temperaments. And we're in the month of June on Wednesday nights. I'm going to do a 4-week thing and do a kind of a deep dive into what your temperament is. Temperaments have been around for a really long time. There's a great resource that's out there right now. It's called I Said This, You Heard That. I Said This, You Heard That. You can download it on an app for free. It's got all of the video. It's great video teaching through an interview style. It looks just like that. I said this, you heard that. And then this workbook that you can order off Amazon for like $19. You have a temperament. And I know everybody can't read these up here, but I'm going to try to help you even tonight figure out which temperament you are. Okay, so I've got some groups of words, and I'm gonna go through it, pop it around. I love this study because it's done by colors instead of big fancy names. I know this is brown; it needs to be yellow. Okay, I wrote it in yellow, and you couldn't read it. Okay, so just this is yellow, and then this is green, this is red, and this is blue, and that's the temperament colors. I just want you to think on a couple of words of which one you associate with the most. When you think about yourself in your very core of your being, are you about people and fun, calm and harmony, power and control, perfection and order? Okay? Just think about yourself. Am I about people and fun, calm and harmony, power and control, or perfection and order? And if I had to pick one of those sets of 4 words, which one would you pick for yourself? So just take a second, do that. Somebody tell me what you've picked. Richard. Are your people in fun? Okay. Blue? All right. Blue? How many blues in the room? All right. How many yellows? Yellows. Yeah, imagine that. Lisa's a yellow. Yeah, Tiffany's a yellow. Okay, yellows. How many greens in the room? All right. How many blue? I said blues. Which one did I skip? Red. How many reds in the room? All right. Now, so here's a pretty cool thing, and we just proved the science. What they have found is that 25% of the population is each one, and you just saw it. In a room here, it's about 25% of each color. Now, if you're not really sure if you're people and fun or calm and harmony, power and control, perfection and order. People and fun are extroverts, and they are all about people. Their task is people. Extroverts and people. Power and control people are extroverts, but they're about task. They want to get stuff done. They're about the task. Calm and harmony are introverts, but they are about people, even though they're an introvert. And a perfectionist and order, a blue person is an introvert, but they're about task. Here are 4 key words if you're a yellow. You're all about approval, acceptance, attention, and affection. If you are green, you're about harmony, worth, lack of stress, and respect. If you are red, you're about loyalty, a sense of control, appreciation, and credit for work. If you are blue, you're about safety, sensitivity, support, and space and silence. Now, this one is interesting. These two words over here is how you manipulate. Okay? Now, I'm not asking you if you manipulate. That's not the question. The question is, how do you manipulate? Okay? Because everybody manipulates, and you manipulate your marriage. Every one of you manipulate your marriage. Okay? If you don't agree with me, you can just be wrong. But you are manipulating your marriage. And if you are yellow, you manipulate your marriage with charm and flattery. You just charm and flattery. Okay? If you're green, it's procrastination and stubbornness. I'm a green. I'm a high green. And this is a foundational truth in my life. Why do it today if you can do it next week? Right? I mean, why? We got plenty of time to do that. That's how I manipulate. If you're red, you manipulate by tone and volume. So you don't get your way, you're just going to say it louder. Your expectations not getting met, you're going to expectate louder. That's what you're going to do, tone and volume. And the blues manipulate with moods and silence. So if you're really good at the silent treatment, blues, you're gonna you know how to control that. So Frank, which one are you? Yeah, and you usually have a primary and a secondary. Yeah. Okay, I'm glad that. Sometimes you can have a mixture of several. Sometimes you might be what's called a high green or a high yellow or a high red or a high blue. Sometimes you might be red blue or blue red. It just kind of goes into how you are. But you have a temperament, and this is why this is so important. If I am married to a yellow, and I am married to approval, acceptance, attention, and affection, charm and flattery. We just can't even make this stuff up. But this happened right before we came over tonight. Lisa, no, this is safe. This is safe. We were over there, or grabbing a bite to eat before we come over, and the phone rings for the church office, and I asked Lisa to answer it. And she answers it, because I was thinking somebody was asking about this or whatever, so she answers it. And she puts that, said, they're asking if we know of any place that serves dinner. So they're calling to try to find some food. Okay? And I tell her to tell them we can't help them and hang up the phone. Okay? She does that. And as soon as she hangs it up, she says this out loud: I did the wrong thing. Because because of her temperament of yellow, she wants to help people. She knows that this person, whoever this person is in a spot, and I can't help this person. So it is hurting her. It's impacting her. It's like I feel dirty of what I just did. Now, I'm a green, and I haven't thought about it until 30 seconds ago when I thought this would be a good illustration. Okay? Because it doesn't bother me because of my temperament. So the more that you can know about your temperament, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a list of strengths and weaknesses. There's lists of get the app. Watch the app. It's about 20, 25-minute videos. You can put it on your phone. You can watch it you can go to bed together after you've taken a shower and watch it together on the iPad or on the phone in the bed and talk, and you can see it. And she does this interview, and they're dressed in their colors. I'm telling you, it will change the way you communicate to each other. It will change the way you see your children. This isn't a parenting thing. This is a marriage thing. But it will change the way that you do that, and you can see that. It's so important. When you are, and this is when the opposite attraction thing comes really into play. And if you've got an introvert married to an extrovert, people in fun, well, let's have a party. That's the last thing I ever want to do is have a party. Okay? Hey, Lisa, why don't we go down to this coffee shop and we'll just get something to drink, and I'll read a book and you read a book, and we'll just sit there for 2 hours. And Lisa's going to say, no. She's just going to say, it's like, no, I'm not doing that. That is not even. Now, when I begin to understand the temperaments, then I begin to understand, you know what? It's foolish of me to expect my people fun wife to want to go sit in a coffee shop and read a book. It's just not even an expectation that I should even have. And so I can remove that expectation off. She can say, hey, I understand you want harmony, work, lack of stress, and respect, and a house full of people and whatever is the last thing that you want. But I need to have some people over. And I'd like to have this. And here's why. Well, when it comes from that approach, it becomes harder. I can still say no because I'm green. But it becomes harder to say it. It's kind of like, okay. I can. So when you begin to understand who you are, and Richard's a people person, okay? He's people in fun. It's not his fault. And he's not wrong, all right? He's just polar opposite of you, right? And because this attraction, this opposite thing happens. And a lot of us have this situation that we have the absolutely opposite things that are going on. And when you have to understand that whatever your temperament's your temperament. Temperaments aren't good or bad. Every temperament has a list of good things, strengths, and every temperament has a list of weaknesses. And there are times you want the green to be in charge. And there are times you want the red to be in charge. If people are shooting at you, get a red in charge. Get a red in charge if people are shooting at you, okay? All right? If you need to build a dam, a red needs to be in charge, okay? And they will not have a problem being in charge because they like to be in charge. But you need that. If you're going to have a party, don't put the blue person in charge of the party. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't give the checkbook to the yellow people. Okay, because you're not going to have any money. You're going to have a great party. We have one great party, but you'll be broke. And that's just the way that it works. And when you begin to understand that, to understand how, all right, I know how Marty is going to manipulate with procrastination. Here's one of the things that a green loves to hear. Here's something a green hates to hear. I need you to do this, and this. I'm out. You lost me at number 2. I am out. But if you come to me as a green and you say, I need you to do this one thing, I'll have it done in an hour. Because I can do one thing. But don't ask me to do, grab this. Brent's helping build our backyard. Not helping. Brent's building our backyard. And doing it. And he'll call and say, you get this. And my head's just going like, oh gosh, I can't do this. And he talks to Lisa. It's like, you got to do this and all that, because they have the same person. They have the same temperament. And so they can speak the same language. And you have to learn how to speak your spouse's language. And this is a great resource. I said this, you heard that. Great resource from a video that you get. The app is free. Download it on your phone. This is $19. It's going to be the best $19 you spent, okay? It's a solid resource. Next tool, as we're going through, trying to give you some tools to help you in your marriage. Sometimes it's about information. Sometimes about what am I going to do with this information. Love languages. Who's familiar with love languages? Most of you familiar with love languages? Okay, good. If you're not, this is a love languages. There's 5. There's acts of service. An act of service is just what it sounds like. It's an act of service. I'm going to mop the floor. I'm going to do the laundry. I'm going to clean the yard. I'm going to wash the car. Acts of service. Words of affirmation. Going to encourage. Rah, rah, rah. You're doing a great job. Just you're the best ever. I'm going to use Brent as an example. Brent is a yellow. He is a yellow. Yellow. Because it's not right or wrong. It's who he is. It's who God's created. So he sends me texts, and he's asking me, "Oh, what do you think of the yard? 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 Don't you love it? Don't you love it? Don't you love it?" And this is his temperament. And when I begin to understand that, I now know how to give that back. Because as I was agreeing, I'm going, well, of course I love it. If I didn't love it, I would have told you. So you don't have to keep asking me. I would have told you. And I know you're not supposed to know, right? And so it's like we're married. But here's the great thing about this stuff. All of these things that we're talking about, expectations, wounds, temperament, and love languages, it will revolutionize your marriage, your parenting, your friendships, and your workplace. It works in all of it, and your church, as far as that goes. Words of affirmation. That's what words of affirmation. Gifts. You know what gifts are? Somebody gives you a gift, right? It could be a small gift, can be a big gift. Just gifts. Physical touch. Don't just think taking a shower, Frank. Okay, that's part of it. But there's also just a hand on a shoulder. Some people, don't have your personal space is really tight. You don't have a problem being close. Some of you, it's about 4 feet. Somebody gets within 4 feet, you're like back off, kind of thing. So physical touch is all things that you would think related to physical touch. Then there's quality time. Quality time is just that. It's quality time. We're gonna have some time together. You could be watching a favorite television show. It could go on a hike. It could be a drive. Whatever. You're just doing. You're having quality time. Now here's there's books and all this kind of stuff. But listen, I'm gonna save you some money here. Okay. These are the 5 love languages. Eliminate the 3 that just doesn't do it for you, and just start with 1. Eliminate 1. That you could, you know what? If I don't have that, I'm all right. Okay? For me, acts of service, not important. I can erase that one. Words of affirmation, no, don't need it. I could gifts. Give me a gift, great. Give me don't give me that. That's not doesn't do it for me. Physical touch, yeah. I that's my love language. A hug. I was telling a story to John today when we were taking a walk about something that happened Sunday from somebody who's been attending our church, and this is how I told him the story. He came out, and Johnny's been coming to church for a couple of years, and this is where he sits, and because I know where everybody sits, and it's kind of like, this is where he sits, and da-da-da-da. And he came out on Easter Sunday, and he came out. He just waited around. He normally don't wait to be where. And he came over and he gave me a hug. He didn't even say anything. He just gave me a hug and patted me on the back. Now, as a physical touch guy, I knew exactly what he was saying. I knew exactly what he was communicating. To say, Happy Easter, meaningful service. Something was going on there because of that. Because I'm a physical touch person, and I'm also a quality time person. So you're going to have 2, your top 2. As your pastor, this shouldn't be a surprise because I'm always asking you to do what? Go have coffee, okay? Quality time. Go sit down and have a conversation about something. That's how that goes. So get your 2. And you get your 2 by eliminating the 3 you could live without. Now, do I like acts of service? Yes. I like it when the kitchen's clean. I like it when stuff happened. Do I like getting words of encouragement, and do I like good job? Of course. Do I like when people give me gifts, especially if it's hockey tickets? Of course. I love this. This is a good thing. So it's not that you don't, but it's just like if you're going to eliminate them. So, Lisa, come up. Just come on up. All right, so I'm physical touch and quality time. You share what your 2 are.
Acts of service and words of affirmation.
Okay. So Lisa is acts of service and words of affirmation. I'm physical touch and quality time. Opposites attract. Okay. Now here's something that's super important. You love the way you want to be loved. You love the way you want to be loved. Okay? So how do I want to express love to Lisa? And quality time. How does she want to express love to me? These 2. Okay, so this is what she's constantly giving me, and this is what I'm constantly giving her. And what's the problem? It doesn't match. I'm trying to give her, if I really, to go and have a little bit more shower time, Frank, I would spend a lot more time on acts of service and words of affirmation. Forget driving the tractor. It's doing the dishes, right? That's right. That's right. And so if you happen to marry someone and you have similar temperaments, and let's say you both have physical touch and quality time as your love languages, well, guess what? You're not going to struggle that much in your relationship because you're naturally loving your spouse the way you want to be loved, and it happens to be the exact way they want to be loved. But when it doesn't, and most of the time it doesn't match up that way because opposites attract, okay, then now it becomes hard. Now I have to figure out how to love Lisa with acts of service and words of affirmation. Now, guess what? These two things are super easy for me. These are life-giving to me. I don't have to think about it. This is exhausting. I'm exhausted. It's like I tried. I swept like half the patio. I am tired, from the acts of service. I washed that dish when that happens. It's and that's what makes it. Or you can go sit down. That's what makes it so hard because it's just like sucking the life out of me. Because it's not, and the same way here, man. If I've got to spend a lot of time with somebody who's just the opposite, it's not life-giving. So you got to know you, and so in order for you to be able to give to your spouse, in order for you to be able to give to your family, you're going to have to figure out how to get rejuvenated. You've got to figure out how to get filled up. You're going to have to figure that out. And then you're going to have to allow each other to do that. And so, I am totally fine for Lisa to go out with all of her friends for a night and me stay home with lack of stress. I am so fine with that, right? The problem becomes when I say, you can't ever do that because you need to be home. Or she says, no, you can't ever be at home. You've got to always be with me when I'm out having the party. See, that's when the problem gets there. Because now all of a sudden, we're back to where we started with the expectations. I'm expecting you to be somebody you're not. And I'm expecting you to fulfill the need for me. Your spouse is not the enemy, and your spouse is not your Savior. That is not, your spouse is your spouse. That's who you're married to, and that's how we are supposed to be going about that. So, those are some of the tools that I find to be helpful. I'm gonna give you one more. I don't do a whole lot of marriage counseling. When I do marriage counseling, I'll do 1 or 2 sessions, and then I pass them off to a professional person or someone who is gifted in that area. And let me just stop and say that. One of the reasons a lot of people won't come to these kinds of things is because they think, well, if we go to that, then everybody thinks our marriage is in trouble. And that's not what anybody's thinking, okay? This is like, we want our marriages to be better, okay? However, your marriage may be in trouble. And if that's your situation, then you need to get help. And this little thing's not going to do it, okay? And you're going to need to get some professional help. And we have resources for that. I've got people that I can direct you to. That's a conversation you need to sit down. We need to sit down and have when it comes to that. But regardless of whether it is something as simple as saying, listen, try to get rid of the expectation box. Empty your expectation box. Let's put into practice this wound stuff, and let's figure this out. And if you sit here and go, you know what, I don't have any wounds, oh my gosh, do you please go to Pure Heart. Because you are just screwed up beyond what you think you are screwed up, okay? Temperament, love languages, it works. If you will work it and you will pay attention to it, it works. And the more that you can understand that, the better off you can be. So here's something that I'm going to challenge all of us to do. And this is what I do for marriage counseling. I do this for a couple of reasons. I say to do this, one, because I really do believe that it will work and it will help. And it also keeps them from coming back. So here's the deal. I want you to take an index card. Get 2 index cards. And each spouse to have one. And I want you to, on the index card, write 1, 2, 3. And I want you to write down 3 things that you need from your spouse. Has to be measurable. It cannot be, I need you to love me. I don't even know what that means. I need you to respect me. I don't even know what that means. I need you to take out the garbage on Thursday nights before 8 o'clock without me asking. Okay? That it can be something as simple as that. If you are acts of service, that carries some weight. carries some weight, right? I want you to list down 3 things that you need from your spouse. Okay? And then set a time by 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Or by the time you go to bed together after you've taken a shower. After you've worked hard all day. And exchange your cards. And then what you're doing is you're making a commitment to doing those 3 things for the next 30 days. I'm making a commitment to do these 3 things for you because you've asked me to. And here's a couple of reasons why I love this exercise. One, it's very practical and it's simple and everybody in the room can do it. Okay? Here's another thing. It forces you to communicate. It forces you to tell what you need, what you want. And the measurable part is it helps you be able to fulfill that. And then you're going to make a commitment to do that for 30 days. At the end of the 30 days, say, you know what? Do we come up with a new 3? Or should we, we didn't do this really well. Or I did this great and you didn't do this very well. Which can happen, right? That's real life. I seem to be committed to this. You don't seem to be committed to this. So it gives you the opportunity it forces you to have a conversation. And our God is a God of dialogue. He had conversations with Adam. He had conversations with Adam and Eve. He had dialogue with Cain. He had dialogue with Abraham. It's just the Bible is filled with God having conversation with us. And we've got to know how to have conversations with each other. And we've got to have real conversations about the stuff that matters. And this expectation, and I'm not going to put anybody in a box, but it's generally on the female side, that I shouldn't have to tell my husband what I need for him. It's just a lie. It is a lie of the enemy. Ladies, we are dense. We're thinking about the shower. We just want a shower. We just want a shower. So you got to tell us. Right? And it's okay. I want to give you permission to tell your spouse what you need. And if you need it, as your pastor, I'm going to give you that permission. You have permission to tell your spouse what you need. And clearly I'm talking about within the bounds of morals and legal and all of those kind of things, right? I'm not, well, I need you to go, I need you to place a hit on my boss. We really need that promotion. We'll never get that pool if we don't get that promotion. So I need you to take out my boss. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Really simple, 3 things. 3 things that you need. Now, here's something else it's going to do. When you have to take a card and you have to write it, and guys, this can be maybe harder for us than it is the ladies. It brings vulnerability into the relationship. I'm going to be vulnerable here and say, hey, this is what I need. And this may seem silly, and this may not be something that you ever even think about. And see, that's one of the things that's so true. You have this expectation box that's filled with all of these expectations that you think that your spouse should do, and they're not even aware of it. They literally have not thought about it. It has literally never crossed their mind. And you're stewing and you're seething or you're heartbroken over some behavior that's not coming towards you, and your spouse doesn't even know it because you haven't communicated. You've talked to your friends about it. But you haven't talked to your spouse about it. And so doing those 3 things can be helpful. So 4 things I guess that would be the 5th tool, the 3 things. Empty your expectation box. Be willing to look at the wounds that are in your life. The temperament thing, I just can't say it enough. Understanding the love languages. Most of you have heard of love languages, so the question is not, do you know your love language? The question is, how well have you languaged your love towards your spouse in the past 7 days? That's the question, right? It's not what do I know, it's what am I doing with what I know. And then the card with the 3 things. Last piece of advice that I would give, work on one thing at a time. Don't try to work on 50,000 things at a time. Work on one thing. And maybe that's the next conversation you need to have. What's the one thing? If we were going to just pick one thing, let's pick one thing to work on. Or one conversation that we need to have, or one talk that we need to have about what is going on in our relationship. And be willing to tell each other, hey, this is what we need. if you are watching online and live streaming, thank you. We are going to say goodbye at this point. So thanks for watching tonight. Hope it was helpful.